All right, so inverses are equations in which the x and the y's are switched, the domains and the ranges are switched. You can see those represented in tables. Say if you had an equation where you had 2, 4, 3, 9, 4, 16, for example, then the inverse would have the points 4, 2, 9, 3, and 16, 4. Thus, domain of one becomes the range of the other. It becomes more complicated if we have a function and we need to find the inverse of that function. So something like f of x equals 3x plus 7. Well, you have to remember that f of x is the same as y equals. So your y is secretly hiding right here. If you need to create the inverse, then you literally need to switch the x and the y. And then to find what that new equation is, you get the y by itself. So we need to undo. We will subtract 7. So x subtract 7 equals 3y. And then we will divide by 3. So the new equation is y equals x subtract 7 divided by 3. In function notation, there's a symbol for an inverse. Since we had f of x, this is the inverse of f of x. So we use that little -1 notation to show it's an inverse. Okay, what if we have one that's not linear? What if we had something that is not linear, like this radical, this square root equation? Well, the method's still the same. This is still our y. So we switch our x and our y. But what's different, of course, will be the steps of undoing. So first we would have to add the 2 because it's not part of the square root. And then once we've gotten the square root by itself, isolated the square root, we'll square both sides to get rid of it, which cancels off the square. Oh dear, I made a difficult one. I will say let's not FOIL that. Let's just leave that x plus 2 quantity squared. And that leaves 4x plus 1 by itself now. Still working backwards to get the y by itself, we'll subtract 1. That cannot go inside the parentheses, so that's just going to go at the end. And then we'll divide away the 4. So y equals the quantity x plus 2 squared, subtract 1, all divided by 4. That's the inverse of the original square root that we had. If we wanted to make that back into function notation, since we had function g when we started, this is the inverse of g. That little -1 tells everybody it's an inverse of the function of the same letter. Oh, that's a messy 4, but I think you know what I mean. Okay. So if you have questions, please let me know, but that is how you create the equation of an inverse.